Tory Lanez got stabbed in prison last week, and now everybody is ready to look more closely at his trial. I think it's a little too late for that. For the most part, I have washed my hands of the Tory and Meg situation. He went to trial and he was convicted of discharging a firearm with gross negligence. Now, that's not necessarily malicious wounding, right? Like she claimed. She claimed that he actually shot her. But in essence, they said, hey, you had the gun, you fired it, you're going to do the time. But then we had the situation where the best friend's bodyguard came out and said, it actually wasn't Tory. I think her name was Kelly. I heard Kelly admit that she's the person that shot Meg.
Not long ago, Unite the People was approached by a gentleman named Bradley James. Mr. James informed us he was working as the bodyguard and driver for Miss Kelsey Harris during Mr. Peterson's trial.
That's her name, Kelsey.
As such, he was in close proximity and he had privy to conversations she was having with her husband and others. Mr. James informed us he was not under a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement and was free to speak with Unite the People, and that he was doing it because his conscience would not let him not speak and leave a man in prison for something he did not do. Mr. James informed Unite the People that he was witness to the conversation Miss Harris had where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times, Mr. Peterson grabbed her arm and knocked it down, and the gun fired 2 more times. In essence, Mr. Peterson never shot anybody, never even touched that gun, never fired the gun. This statement aligns with the statement of the only non-party witness to the case, Mr. Sean Kelly, who at trial testified he saw 2 women fighting, 2 men break up the fight, 1 man grabbed the other one's arm. Gunshots came from the passenger side. The passenger side is where Miss Harris was sitting.
So there we have it. The best friend's bodyguard, I think her name was Kelsey Harris. The best friend's bodyguard came out and said it was actually Kelsey who fired the gun. Tory didn't do it. You know, he's sitting in jail getting stabbed up and he shouldn't be there in the first place. I think it's a little too late. Like, we should have had this information before. We shouldn't have let it get this far, but this is where we are now, right? It's a little too late to try to go back, fix being stabbed 14 times, fix all of the trauma that him and his family had to go through. It's a little too late for that. Throughout the entire time leading up to the trial, Tory claimed that he never shot Meg. He said he didn't shoot her. He claimed somebody else did it. One of the 4 people that was in the car. We know it wasn't Meg. She didn't shoot herself. Tory said I didn't do it. Small list of people there. So somebody did it. If it wasn't him, it wasn't her. It was the bodyguard or it was the best friend. Okay, cool. I hear you. The best friend, she asked for immunity. She gets immunity. He ends up being the one that's accused. He ends up being the one that is sent to prison for it. And he keeps saying it's not me, but he's not saying anything else to shake the eyes off of him and make them look at somebody else as the perpetrator. Right off the bat, I don't like it. I understand you're a rapper. You're trying to keep it real. You don't want to be labeled as a snitch, whatever. Okay, cool. You're really going to prison for somebody else's actions. Real crash dummy. Congratulations. You don't get to spend your time and your nights with your wife and with your kids. How's that for keeping it real? Now, I'm not advocating for him to stay in prison by any means. If he didn't do it, we can't just keep him there indefinitely and make him responsible for somebody else's crime. But what I am saying is this could have all been avoided if he just made the person responsible for it take accountability in the first place by speaking out and saying, hey, it wasn't me. It was Shorty over there. But instead, he chose to make posts and songs and statements about how he didn't do it instead of saying who did. He let the system railroad him by being loyal to people over his family, loyal to nobodies. And that's the problem with the culture. Strangers mean more to you than the actual people that love you, the people that need you at home protecting them. He chose to turn his back on his family and protect strangers. That's what he did by not making a statement and only saying it wasn't me instead of saying who it was. You see how that doesn't make sense? You're protecting people and they'll sell you right up the river. They don't give a damn about the fact that you're serving a decade in prison. You're getting stabbed up. They get to be free. They get to hang out with their family on Christmas, New Year's, break bread on Thanksgiving. Now, right off the jump, I thought that Meg was on some bullshit when she did the interview with Gayle King and she tried to pretend that there was no relationship between her and Tory. I know you guys remember that interview.
I didn't care who it was. I just wanted to feel like I got family and I got people that care about me and just I could hang out with everybody, and I was just going through it.
What was the nature of your relationship with Tory Lanez? Because he has led people to believe that it was a sexual relationship, that it was that you two were dating. What was the nature of
We were not dating. We were really close. We were friends. We hung out like every day. And his mom passed too. So when I felt like we were bonding over that.
Mm-hmm.
And
did you have an intimate relationship with him?
like sexual?
Yeah. Did you, Megan, did you have a sexual relationship with Tory Lanez? Yes, that's my question.
I didn't have a sexual relationship with Tory.
So why do you think he's putting out the story that the two of you had a relationship and that you're making the whole thing up?
I think that he is trying to deflect from the fact that he committed a crime.
That's crazy how she could just sit up there and fabricate that lie. It wasn't even a good lie, if we're being honest. Does saying that you didn't have sex with somebody automatically mean that you're lying about everything else? Of course not. Like, I hope nobody's of that mindset. But it does make people look at you sideways and start to question what else you could be lying about. They have to look through everything that you say with a fine-tooth comb, because lying once is a mistake, but lying twice is a pattern. So they're looking for the pattern. They want to see what else you're going to make some falsehoods about and poke holes in all the statements that you have made. So now where we're at today, Tory Lanez, he's been stabbed. Unite the People came out and said that the bodyguard witnessed the conversation where Kelsey admitted to shooting Megan. And we even have a congresswoman calling for a pardon for Tory Lanez, advocating for Tory to be released. So the text is a little small, but don't worry. I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to hold your hand through this, and we're going to get through this together. So this is Representative Anna Paulina Luna. She says, newly surfaced body cam and medical records show Megan Thee Stallion initially claimed she stepped on glass. We remember that. ER records show no bullet fragments on x-rays. Bullet fragments allegedly removed are now missing. Evidence handling was a disaster, which evidence handling is a big deal. You got to go through the chain of custody and everybody has to sign off. Everybody that touches any evidence has to sign off saying who did it, what time, and who they passed it off to. Tory Lanez was sentenced to 10 years despite having no prior record, largely due to a firearm enhancement law now under scrutiny for racial bias. Black defendants face a 92% higher rate of this enhancement. That is not justice, that's discrimination. I gotta say that I agree with her here, because when I was looking at the charges, when I asked ChatGPT what he was charged with, there was nothing about like malicious wounding or anything related to an injury. It's firearm possession, shooting the firearm, things like that. Nothing that's related to actually injuring Meg Thee Stallion. But that's what the public narrative is, that he shot her. The forensic evidence in the Lanez case was deeply flawed. 0.01% chance his DNA was on the firearm, 0% on the magazine, no fingerprints, DNA from 4 individuals found. Tory wasn't a primary contributor. Key gunshot residue tests never performed on others. This raises serious doubts. I did hear something about this, how they had other people's DNA. They weren't really testing it. So the only person they could have gone after was Tory, and they designed it in that way intentionally. That's not cool. That's some bullshit. Under California's Racial Justice Act and recent legislation limiting the use of rap lyrics and character evidence, Tory Lanez deserves a full review. His conviction was built on outdated and unconstitutional grounds. I don't think that rap lyrics should be exempt. I know that that's a thing that a lot of people have been trying to say for the past couple of years. But sometimes art imitates life. So if you're talking about the things that you do in your music becomes more of a journal, right? It's not just art at that point. But, I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. They know better than me. Tory Lanez's trial included prosecutorial. You guys don't burn me up in the comments about that one. Prosecutorial misconduct, exclusion of mitigating factors, use of protected speech, rap lyrics, tattoos as evidence, witness contradictions, which we keep seeing those over and over, especially with this new bodyguard stuff that's come out. Immunity deals with unclear motives. This is not how justice is supposed to be served. We know that the girl Kelsey, she got a immunity deal. I don't know that she testified though. That's kind of strange. If she didn't testify, she gets immunity. I'm not sure how that works out. That seems like somebody is being railroaded. Key witnesses changed their stories or contradicted themselves. One admitted in court she lied in a DA interview. Another gave a sworn statement that Harris admitted to firing the gun. This case deserves fresh eyes and full transparency. All cases deserve full transparency. We know that people get falsely imprisoned for all sorts of stuff, all sorts of bullshit. Tory Lanez's conviction and sentencing raises major constitutional concerns. First Amendment, use of lyrics as evidence. Sixth Amendment, right to confrontation. 14th Amendment, equal protection under racially biased enhancements. These issues demand urgent review. Justice isn't served when due process is ignored, evidence is mishandled, and race plays a role in sentencing. Tory Lanez deserves a fair hearing. If justice prevails, he deserves his freedom. Free Tory Lanez. That's what the Congresswoman had to say. Like I said, Tory Lanez's entire situation is going to be gone over with a fine-tooth comb. They're going to see exactly what happened there, things that were left out, why they were left out. And whoever is accountable, whoever is responsible needs to be held accountable. You can't send somebody to prison for a decade for something that they didn't do. Regardless of how I feel about it, right? I feel like if you didn't do it, you want your freedom, you don't want to be blamed for something somebody else did, you got to snitch. That's the only way that issues like this get resolved, without having somebody take accountability for someone else's actions. You got to snitch. It's not a popular thing to say. It is what it is. Those are my thoughts. If you like the video, subscribe to me back here for the next conversation. If you have something to say, let the world know. This is the place for discourse. Until next time, peace.